Do you know the meaning of a worldview? Could you define the Christian worldview? Are you aware of the competing worldviews that are currently attacking Christianity? Stay tuned for a presentation by one of Christendom's greatest experts on worldviews.
Lamb and Lion Ministries presents Christ in Prophecy, a program that focuses on the fundamentals of Bible prophecy, showing how current events in the news relate to biblical predictions of end-time events and the soon return of Jesus. Now, here's your host, Dr. David Reagan.
Greetings in the name of Jesus, our blessed hope, and welcome to Christ in Prophecy. During the last weekend of June each year, we conduct a Bible conference in the Dallas, Texas area. Our conference theme for 2010 was Defending the Faith. We had 6 speakers who spoke in defense of the fundamentals of Christianity. Our leadoff speaker was Brannon Howse, the founder and director of Worldview Weekend, an organization that sponsors Worldview conferences all across our nation every year with over 30,000 people attending. Brannon is the author of 8 books and is the host of a nationally broadcast radio program which features his biblical commentaries on current events. Brannon's topic at our conference was the truth of the Christian worldview. He began by explaining that a worldview consists of the basic values that determines a person's decisions. Thus, a person with a Christian worldview would be one who believes in God, believes in the Bible as the Word of God, believes that Jesus was the Son of God, believes that man is basically evil, and believes that faith in Jesus is mankind's only hope. Brannon emphasized that there is a worldview war going on between Christianity and 5 other predominant worldviews, namely secular humanism, cosmic humanism, better known as the New Age movement, postmodernism, Islam, and Marxism. He then began to elaborate on the key individuals who have undermined the Christian worldview here in the United States, beginning with John Dewey, who shaped the modern American educational system. Before we share with you what Brannon had to say about Dewey, let me point out that his presentation was based on his latest book titled Grave Influence. In the book, he presents 21 persons who are undermining America and impacting the world from the grave. And now, here is Brannon Howse speaking about John Dewey.
I'm waiting for more people to explain to the American people when the great transformation in America happened. And it largely began aggressively in 1933 when John Dewey, the father of modern education, who signed the Humanist Manifesto, who started the Socialist Society in America, who went to Russia in 1920 to study the Karl Marx way of education, and then came back to America to teach it at Columbia University. John Dewey, who was involved in helping start the American Communist Leftist Union, you know them as the American Civil Liberties Union, when John Dewey brought the Frankfurt School to America in 1933, that's when things really began to speed up. And these were German intellectuals who'd been in Germany, and they started their, what we call now the Frankfurt School, in 1923 in Germany. And they helped lay the academic and worldview foundation for the acceptance of Adolf Hitler. And they taught Friedrich Nietzsche, who said God is dead. Not only is God dead, but we can smell his rotting corpse. What do you mean? We have killed the idea of God in the conscience of the people. My friends, we have largely killed the idea of God in the conscience of a whole generation, and we are about to reap the consequences, I fear, with our next Holocaust after the murder of 53 million babies, which is going to be active and is active euthanasia, particularly through the rationing of health care. I've asked my radio audience to send me stories of active euthanasia, and this last week I've been flooded with nurses and family members and hospice workers detailing active euthanasia, and it is this generation that has been taught the idea of Nietzsche, who's one of the most read authors on college campus today. God is dead. It doesn't matter how you live. The highest calling in life is to serve the state. Nihilism or nihilism. Life has no meaning aside from serving the state. And when you can no longer serve the state, you are not productive human resource, you are just in the way, and the right to die is now becoming the duty to die. And a whole generation, multiple generations now, have been taught the lifeboat scenario. 5 in the lifeboat, provisions for 4. Who is the least valuable? Who must go over for the good of the group? And my friends, educators, parents, professors who taught this to one generation after another are going to be the ones who find themselves being thrown over the lifeboat. Nietzsche said we need a spiritualized cruelty. The Frankfurt School studied Nietzsche. Hitler studied Nietzsche. Hitler liked to have his picture taken staring at a bust of Nietzsche. Hitler had the works of Nietzsche edited and hand off to Mussolini. And so when finally the Nazi party came to full power, the Frankfurt School folks got nervous. And so they left Germany and came to America at the invitation of John Dewey in 1933. Now, who are some of these radicals that are ruling from the grave that I look at in the book Grave Influence? Well, one of them is Alice Bailey. Now, this will show you just how seriously of a spiritual battle this is. Alice Bailey was and is really like many young people today. She was involved in Christian ministry work. She said she read her Bible every night. But one night she set aside her Bible, which she was in the habit of reading, and she picked up a book by Helena Blavatsky, an occultist. The Secret Doctrine was the name of the book. This is who Adolf Hitler also studied. And as she read this demonic book, she ended up meeting her own demon. The Tibetan is what she called him. And together they wrote over 24 books totaling 10,000 pages. Now, I don't want to give too much credibility to demons tonight, but I do want to show you some of the things that she said so you can understand just how serious this spiritual battle really is. Alice Bailey is what the Scriptures warned us about in 1 Timothy 4:1. Now, the Spirit expressly says that in later times some would abandon the faith or depart from the faith and follow deceiving spirits and doctrines of demons. And that is happening today. And I'll talk about that more. Here's what her and her demon said. The hierarchy is struggling hard with the so-called forces of evil, and the new group of world servers is the instrument. So the new group of world servers will be the instrument to battle the forces of evil. You know who the forces of evil are? Christians. And the new group of world servers will be the instrument. I'll tell you who they are in just a minute. These forces of evil, the entrenched ancient ideas which must now disappear if the new age is to be ushered in as desired. Look, she's using the phrase New Age or New Age movement. That's your pagan spirituality, your cosmic humanism. And the old established rhythms, said her and her demon in their books, inherent in the old forms of religion, of politics, and of social order, must give place to newer ideals, to the synthetic understanding, and to the new order. Notice that phrase again, new order or new world order. The media always laughs at us when we use that phrase, new order or new world order. Folks, we are only quoting the elite. We're only quoting them. This is exactly what Henry Kissinger said on the floor of the stock exchange just days before Barack Obama was inaugurated. He said he has the chance to usher in the new world order. A few days later, he wrote an article in the International Herald in January of 2009 and said, chance for new world order. Gorbachev wrote an article the exact same week saying the financial crisis is the chance for global governance. You had the Prime Minister then of Great Britain, Brown, come out at the end of one of the G20 meetings and say, this is the beginning of the new world order. You had the new installed of January of 2010, the new full-time first installed president of the European Union, who in late 2009 said that 2009 was the beginning of the new world order. I'm only giving you their phrases. Where does this phrase come from? It comes right out of the demonic realm. Through the medium of certain great and outstanding personalities who were particularly sensitive to the will to power. Have you heard that phrase before, the will to power? That's Nietzsche. Nietzsche said the highest calling in life is the will to power. It doesn't matter how you get it, just as long as you get it and maintain it. It doesn't matter how you get it. Nietzsche said, there's not right, there's not wrong. All there is the will to power. He even wrote a book called Beyond Good and Evil. He said, we got to get beyond good and evil. All there is the will to power. He wrote a book later called The Antichrist. He used to sign his own letter sometime, Friedrich Nietzsche, the Antichrist, sometimes just the Antichrist. It was the last book that he wrote. Within days of him finishing it, he went nuts and spent the next 10 to 11 years out of his mind. But his book was called The Antichrist. He was involved in the demonic realm, I truly believe. And here is another person involved in the demonic realm, Alice Bailey, saying with her demon, that what is the calling in life? The will to power. So these people who are part of the new group of world servers, who will be the instrument to destroy the forces of evil, Christianity, to usher in the new age, are people who are particularly sensitive to the will to power. They have altered the character and their national life and emphasize increasingly the wider human values. These men inspired the initiation. Who are some of these people? Well, you got Mussolini, Hitler, Stalin. These are who are part of the new group of world servers, she says. There are people who are particularly sensitive to the Shambhala forces, the demonic forces. Who would be your members of the new group of world servers today? I think I just named off a lot of them for you a while ago. Those calling for the New World Order for global governance, for sustainable development, which we don't have time to go into, which is the new buzzword coming out of the UN in 1992, for the destruction of Christianity, the implementation of global governance, pagan spirituality, abortion on demand, population control, prosecution of Christians, end of parental authority, all comes under what's called sustainable development from the UN in 92 with Maurice Strong and Gorbachev. Maurice Strong, I quoted in my book in 95, said, the only hope of the world is that the industrialized civilizations collapse. Isn't it our responsibility to bring that about? And indeed, they're bringing it about today on purpose. These are the agents, said Alice and her demon, creators of the new order, destroyers of what must be destroyed. What are they wanting to destroy? Christianity. Her and her demon said that they would implement this new order 3 ways, teaching pluralism to children. That means all religions are equal. Pluralism. All religions are equal. Except, of course, Christianity. That's bigoted, intolerant. Is that happening today? Pluralism? Oh, indeed. 2, reject the exclusivity of Jesus Christ. No, not John 14:6. Jesus is the only way. All roads lead to God. We just call it. Oprah said, there could not possibly be just one way to God. There are millions of ways. And then she said, teach people to tap into their unconscious mind and discover that they are God. And here's Oprah. She's been teaching this with Eckhart Tolle and other New Agers that she's been pushing and promoting. And on her XM Site radio show about 1.5 years ago, she taught this lady's book, another one of the 21 radicals I look at in the book Grave Influence, Helen Schucman. Helen Schucman taught at Columbia University, and she also consulted a demon. And she, by the way, Alice Bailey wrote her book by going into a trance and through automatic writing. Helen Schucman, however, wrote her New Age book, A Course in Miracles, which became the New Age Bible, over 600 pages. She wrote it by going into a trance and listening to what a demon would say, and then she would write it down in shorthand. And then she would read it back later to one of her college friends or professor friends who would then type it up. And they did this in secret. And what was born was the book, A Course in Miracles. And Oprah taught it last year on her XM Satellite radio show about 1.5 years ago. Hebrews 13:9 says, don't be carried away by all kinds of strange teachings. Here's another one of the radicals I look at in the book, Karl Marx. All these people, by the way, hate God. You know what Helen Schucman said, by the way, in her book? She said certain things like, salvation comes from me. Don't make the pathetic error of clinging to the old rugged cross. Jesus is a man like any other. Sin is not real. Sin is lack of love. And you know what? Karl Marx, like Alice Bailey, remember Alice Bailey read her Bible every night and was involved in Christian ministry work before she turned to the occult? Same thing with Karl Marx. He claimed to be a Christian as a young man. I even have poetry written by him, beautiful Christian poetry. But sometime after high school, he turned and got into the demonic realm. His own father believed he was also possessed. I quote that in the book. And Karl Marx said, my objective in life is to dethrone God and destroy capitalism, end quote. My objective in life is to dethrone God and to destroy capitalism, Karl Marx. He was involved in Satanism, wrote a play dripping with Satanism, I believe. Karl Marx, the father of Marxism, the Communist Manifesto with Engels, and he said, I wish to avenge myself against the one who rules above. The idea of God is the keynote of a perverted civilization. It must be destroyed. Marx said, man looked for a superhuman being in the fantastic reality of heaven and found nothing there but the reflection of himself.